Hello everybody, it's Emma. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. Today, as you can see by my book corner, we are going to be talking about books. This video was a little late, but better late than never, am I right? We're gonna be talking about my what I read in June and my July TBR. I was gonna do two separate videos, but since it's so late already, I'm just gonna combine them. I also didn't read a ton of books this last month, so we're just gonna talk about my what I read in June and my July TBR in the same video. I do talk a lot and I like to elaborate and talk about how I felt about these books, so we're gonna go ahead and get right into it, because I don't want this video to be super long, and it will be if I continue to talk. So we are going to start off with the books I read in July, which is this pile back here. I read 4 books in July, which is actually pretty good for me. I am so bad about giving myself time to read, so just mindlessly reading 4 books is really good for me. We're gonna go in order of how I read them, and I will tell you my thoughts and my rating. First book I read this month is Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. This book was so good. I actually have 3 5-star reads this month, so it was a really good reading month, even though I only read 4. Every Summer After by Carly Fortune, so good. I rated it 5 stars. It's my favorite trope, which is like childhood friends to lovers. Something happens to where they stop talking and then they get to rekindle their relationship like however many years later. That's my favorite trope. I love it so much. And that's exactly what this is. This is Carly Fortune's debut novel, and it was so good. So I cannot wait for more of her books to come out. The cover is so cute, like all the summer vibes in this book. I loved this so much. I'm really bad at explaining what books are about without rambling, because I'm a very thorough person whenever I talk. Like whenever I tell stories, they're always like 10 years long because I just can't get to the point. So I'm gonna go ahead and just read the back of all of these books.
6 summers to fall in love, 1 moment to fall apart, a weekend to get it right. They say you can never go home again, and for Persephone Fraser, ever since she made the biggest mistake of her life a decade ago, that has felt too true. Instead of glittering summers on the lakeshore of her childhood, she spent them in a stylish apartment in the city, going out with friends and keeping everyone a safe distance from her heart, until she receives a call that sends her racing back to Barry's Bay and into the orbit of Sam Florrick, the man she never thought she'd have to live without. For 6 summers, through hazy afternoons on the water and warm summer nights working in his family's restaurant and curling up together with books, medical textbooks for him, and work-in-progress horror short stories for her, Persephone and Sam have been inseparable. Eventually, that friendship turned into something breathtakingly more, before it fell spectacularly apart. When Percy returns to the lake for Sam's mother's funeral, their connection is as undeniable as it has always been. But until Percy can confront the decisions she made and the years she spent punishing herself for them, they'll never know whether their love might be bigger than the biggest mistakes of their past. Told over the course of 6 years and 1 weekend, Every Summer After is a big, sweeping, nostalgic look at love and the people and choices that mark us forever.
So like it said, it's told in back and forth timelines from 6 summers whenever they were younger, and then the 1 weekend whenever Percy goes back to Barry's Bay for Sam's mother's funeral. Not only do we have childhood friends to lovers, we also have a big event that breaks them apart. We also have them getting to rekindle their relationship when they're adults. We also have alternating timelines. Chef's kiss. This book was so good. Everything I wanted. It gives Love in Other Words. It gives Beach Read. It gives The Summer I Turned Pretty. It gives People We Meet on Vacation. If you like any of those books, you're gonna like this book. I read my first 2 Taylor Jenkins Reid novels this month. I dove into Taylor Jenkins Reid finally. Most people are introduced to Taylor Jenkins Reid through The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo or Daisy Jones and the Six, and I was not, because those books never appealed to me, so that's not what I'm starting with, because I didn't want to. I know I'll probably like those books deep down, but I don't want to force myself to read them, and some of her other books that she has looked better in my opinion, so that's what I started with. First of all, we have One True Loves. I wanted to read this book for so long, and I could never find it in any Barnes & Noble that I went to. I was going to order it off Amazon, but then I stumbled upon it one day whenever I was in a Barnes & Noble, and I got it. I also gave this a 5-star. I'm gonna go ahead and read the back for you guys.
In her 20s, Emma Blair marries her high school sweetheart, Jessie. They build a life for themselves far away from the expectations of their parents and the people of their hometown in Massachusetts. They travel the world together, living life to the fullest and seizing every opportunity for adventure. On their first wedding anniversary, Jessie is on a helicopter over the Pacific when it goes missing. Just like that, Jessie is gone forever. Emma quits her job and moves home in an effort to put her life back together. Years later, now in her 30s, Emma runs into an old friend, Sam, and finds herself falling in love again. When Emma and Sam get engaged, it feels like Emma's second chance at happiness. That is, until Jessie is found. He's alive, and he's been trying all these years to come home to her. With a husband and a fiancé, Emma has to now figure out who she is and what she wants, while trying to protect the ones she loves. Who is her one true love? What does it mean to love truly? Emma knows she has to listen to her heart. She's just not sure what it's saying.
If the back of this book doesn't just convince you to read it, let me go ahead and convince you to read it. First of all, if any of you out there are named Emma, you can totally put yourself into this book because her name is Emma. Second of all, we get to see them when they're younger, how her and Sam meet, how her and Jessie meet, how she has this huge crush on Jessie whenever they're younger, and then their life builds into whenever they're older, and you get to see how her and Jessie fall in love and how they get married, and then you get to feel her heartbreak. Taylor Jenkins Reid does such a good job at making Emma's heartbreak come across in the pages, and like you can really feel it. You feel like you go through the stages of grief with her, because even though Jessie disappearing happens pretty early on in the book, you still get to like know him and get to love him and that kind of stuff. So whenever he goes missing, you grieve with Emma. And then she goes back home and she's starting to fall in love with Sam, and you're rooting for her again. But since you already know the plot of the book, you know Jessie ends up coming back, and the whole time you're just trying to figure out who you're rooting for. There are some parts that are very frustrating, and you just don't know what Emma's gonna do. You don't know what you would do, and it's just such a good book. It's such a good book. So I definitely recommend this one if you've never read any Taylor Jenkins Reid books yet. Oh, it's backwards. This is a good one to start with. Then I went straight into another Taylor Jenkins Reid book, and I read Malibu Rising. I have also been wanting to read this book for so long. I had heard so many good things about it, but I could only ever find the hardcover book, and I don't like hardcover books. I'm a big paperback girly. So I finally found it one day in Barnes & Noble in the paperback, because like I said with When True Loves, I was just gonna order the paperback off of Amazon, but then it was meant to be and I stumbled across the paperback in Barnes & Noble. So I picked it up. You can tell that this book was well loved and that I read it laying outside because there is so much water damage. Oops. Her covers are beautiful. Like, I'm gonna go ahead and read the back for you.
4 famous siblings throw an epic party to celebrate the end of summer, but over the course of 24 hours, their lives will change forever. Malibu, August 1983. It's the day of Nina Riva's annual end of summer party, and anticipation is at a fever pitch. Everyone wants to be around the famous Rivas. Nina, the talented surfer and supermodel, brothers Jay and Hud, one a championship surfer, the other a renowned photographer, and their adored baby sister, Kit. Together, the siblings are a source of fascination in Malibu and the world over, especially as the offspring of the legendary singer Mick Riva. The only person not looking forward to the party of the year is Nina herself, who never wanted to be the center of attention, and who has also just been very publicly abandoned by her pro tennis player husband. Oh, and maybe Hud, because it is long past time to confess something to the brother from whom he's been inseparable since birth. Jay, on the other hand, is counting the minutes until nightfall, when the girl he can't stop thinking about promised she'll be there, and Kit has a couple secrets of her own, including a guest she invited without consulting anyone. By midnight, the party will be completely out of control. By morning, the Riva mansion will have gone up in flames, but before that first spark in the early hours before dawn, the alcohol will flow, the music will play, and the loves and secrets that shaped this family's generations will all come bubbling to the surface. Malibu Rising is a story about one unforgettable night in the life of a family, the night they each have to choose what they will keep from the people who made them and what they will leave behind.
What I loved most about this book is just the way it was written, the format it was written in. So their parents, Mick and June, you get to see how June was brought up. You get to see Mick and June falling in love. And then you get to see how garbage Mick can be. and then you get to see them having their children, everything that they went through. It feels like you're watching or reading a reality TV show because they're famous, they're very famous. And so you get to see the lives of these people. Then you get to see the kids grow up and you get to see their lives and what they go through and all that kind of stuff. Once again, how garbage their dad can be. But then Nina, like the kind of like the main girl here, the oldest daughter, you get to see her and her husband, ex-husband, I don't really remember, how trash garbage he can also be. And then the night of the party, you get introduced to so many characters. It feels like you're at this party with the elite of Hollywood. She'll add in like 2 or 3 pages of the point of view of another person at the party. So like whether it's a famous actress or a model or someone who plays a sport, you'll get to see like 2 or 3 pages of their POV at the party and what they're going through, and you literally just get into the minds of every single person at that party, and you get to see how crazy this party gets. And it's just so good. The way this is written, you just like don't ever want to put it down, and it flows so well, and you never get bored because you're just constantly getting a new POV from someone, and it's so good. It is so good. 5-star read. Taylor Jenkins Reid now holds a very special place in my heart. So there's just a lot going on in here, and it's so good. My last book of the month was It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. I have had this on my TBR for so long, and I was in North Carolina this last month, and I was like, the beach is the best place to start this book. So I started it, and I got maybe a third of the way through it while I was in North Carolina. I came home, and when I started reading back home, I got to the really good part, and I read about 300 pages in one day. And I finished it in one day, and it was really good. I gave it a 4-star. I was not expecting it to be so spicy. If you've never read this and you've never heard anything about it and you just pick it up, it is, Tess Bailey says some very graphic stuff. She likes her spicy scenes, which I don't mind. I'm not the type of person that hates the spice in the books, but this is the most spice I've ever read in a book, and I was not expecting it. But it was good. I also was so hesitant to read this because looking at Piper's character and hearing what kind of character she is, I didn't really think I would like her, but I actually did really like her. And Brendan Taggart, I loved Brendan. I loved Brendan. He was so good. Okay, I'm gonna read the back for you.
Piper Bellinger is fashionable, influential, and her reputation as a wild child means the paparazzi are constantly on her heels. When too much champagne and an out-of-control rooftop party lands Piper in the slammer, her stepfather decides enough is enough. So he cuts her off and sends Piper and her sister to learn some responsibility running their late father's dive bar in Washington. Piper hasn't even been in Westport for 5 minutes when she meets big, bearded sea captain Brendan, who thinks she won't last a week outside of Beverly Hills. So what if Piper can't do math, and the idea of sleeping in a shabby apartment with bunk beds gives her hives? How bad could it really be? She's determined to show her stepfather and the hot, grumpy local that she's more than a pretty face. Except it's a small town, and everywhere she turns, she bumps into Brendan. The fun-loving socialite and the gruff fisherman are polar opposites, but there's an undeniable attraction simmering between them. Piper doesn't want any distractions, especially feelings for a man who sails off into the sunset for weeks at a time. Yet as she reconnects with her past and begins to feel at home in Westport, Piper starts to wonder if the cold, glamorous life she knew is what she truly wants. LA is calling her name, but Brendan and this town full of memories may have already caught her heart.
This is like a Schitt's Creek inspired book. Piper is inspired by Alexis from Schitt's Creek, so I haven't watched it, but if you have, that might interest you. It's very much a rom-com. That's the end of the books that I read this month. Now let's go ahead and get into my TBR. I won't have as much to ramble on about with those because I haven't read them yet, so I'm just gonna go ahead and show you all of the books that I've picked for this month. I've got 5 physical books and then 1 on my Kindle app that I want to read. It's on my Kindle app right now, but I might end up ordering it from Amazon because I really like to have the physical copy of books. There is a second book to It Happened One Summer, which is Hook, Line, and Sinker. It is about Hannah, Piper's sister, and Fox, Brendan's best friend. I've already started it. I am 126 pages in, and so I'll probably finish it in the next couple days. The next is Finding Perfect by Colleen Hoover. It is a very, very small novella, not even 100 pages, so I could literally probably finish this today. I might dive into it after I'm done filming because I've really been wanting to read this. you don't know, this is in like a whole series with Colleen Hoover, so you can't really see. But this stack right here is my Colleen Hoover stack. You have Hopeless, Finding Hope, Finding Cinderella, All Your Perfects, and Finding Perfect. And I've read the first 4, and this is the last one I need to read to finish it up. So I'm very excited for this. Then I have another Taylor Jenkins Reid book. I just really wanted to read another one, and this was the, other than the other 2 I mentioned, Daisy Jones and the Six and 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, this was the next highest rated one, so I picked this one up. It's After I Do. It's about the characters they reach a breaking point in their marriage, and so they decide to take a year break where they can't have any contact with each other at all, and then reconvene in the next year to see if they still want to be together. So sounds interesting. Then very excited about this one, The Fine Print by Lauren Asher, the first book in the Dreamland Billionaire series. I can't wait to read this. I know it's about Rowan and Zara, and that's about it. I know that Rowan's family owns Dreamland and he has to take it over, but he can only get it if he marries someone or something like that. I don't know, but it's basically, they say that Dreamland is kind of like Disneyland. Disneyland romance, we'll see. The last physical book that I have is Confess by Colleen Hoover. This is just one that if I get to it, I get to it. I've really been wanting to read it, but I don't know if I'll get to it this month. I put this in just in case I get to it. If I don't, I'm not going to be upset with myself. And then the last book that I have, the one on my Kindle app, is The Infinity Between Us by N.S. Perkins. I've heard amazing things about this. People say that it's a lot like Every Summer After and books like that, so I really want to read it. But the cover is beautiful and I really want the physical copy, so I started it on Kindle and I might order it on Amazon. Those are the 6 books that I have for my July TBR. I only read 4 last month, so 6 is very ambitious for me, but we will see since one of them is very short. That is all I have for you guys today. I really hope that you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you give it a giant thumbs up. Comment down below what books you plan on reading this month. I would love to get some suggestions from you guys. And if you've read any of these books, let me know your thoughts. Make sure you subscribe and turn on my notification bell so you know when I upload my videos. I also follow all my social medias. They're always linked down in the description below. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you all so much for watching. I love you all so much, and I will see you